Hello friends, Namaste. This is Sweetie Jamgade signing in for the next session of the course Travel and Tourism Management. As I've discussed in the earlier session, this session is in continuation to the topic e-tourism, that is electronic tourism. The intended learning outcome of this session is we will understand the concept of e-commerce in tourism. We will try to understand the various evolution of web 0 to web 5, and we will try to understand how web 2.0, which is the current phase of web 2.0 which we are using in this era, the marketing strategies which we are using through web 2.0. Now, e-commerce is being spoken widely and by many people that e-commerce has been a phenomenal change due to the development of ICT, that is information and communication technology. What do you mean by e-commerce? E-commerce is the meaning of commerce activities through the electronic medium, that is the transaction of goods and services through the medium of electronic, especially through the use of internet. Because of internet banking, because of third party gateway system which has been made available to people, the commerce, that is the transaction of goods and services, has become easy through the electronic portal. So that is what this particular slide is saying. It's the purchasing, selling and exchanging of goods and services over computer network such as the internet, through which transactions or terms of sale are performed electronically. And then there are various apps which are providing the opportunity to the consumer to buy products instantly, without delays, and through even pooling of money from the various debit credit transactions which they can do from their account. Now when we talk about the facilitation of commercial transaction electronically, there are two technologies which are used. One is electronic data interchange, that is EDI, and the other one is electronic funds transfer. So any company who wants to enter into e-commerce should have these two facilitation in their portal. One is the EDI, that is electronic data interchange. This is what I am talking about. And the other one is EFT, that is electronic funds transfer. Now what is EDI and what is EFT? EDI, by the word itself, it is the movement, the transfer of data from one terminal to another terminal. So this is what is EDI, where there is a switch company which tries to make the user, the end user, understand all the data which is provided by the supplier. So this is what you can understand what is EDI mean here. This is the business application. From here the documents are being shared to the trading partner and the customers, and then again the customers will upload some documents for the transfer of various services, which goes back to the supplier, the business application. So all this process requires an interfacing where the switch companies, that is Cisco, Infosys, and there are many more, Tata, where they try to do the interfacing of the two applications. Now what is EFT? As it's been said in the previous slide, EFT is electronic fund transfer. So here the transfer of funds will happen in EFT, which is majorly through the third party mode, that is a payment gateway is created by the third party. So there are many third parties which are available, which helps in the banking transaction. As you would have seen, whenever you enter your details for banking transaction, it says that it is the portal says that it is taking you to the merchant gateway, and then there is CCNA, and then CC Avenue, and then various payment gateway, which helps you to do the transaction safely by using your bank account. So that is called as electronic fund transfer. So for any e-commerce based company needs to have a linking with the third party gateway system for the safety and security purposes of their users, as well as the transaction to be happened in a hassle free mode. Now we will discuss about the typology of e-commerce as well as e-tourism. When we talk about the typologies of e-commerce and e-tourism, it's one and the same, because e-tourism means the application of e-commerce in tourism businesses. So basically there are four major categories. One is business to business, that is called as B2B typology. The other one is B2C, that is business to consumer. Next is consumer to business, C2B, and the other one is consumer to consumer, that is G2C. And then there are more typologies, that is government to employees, business to employees, government to consumers. But as a layman point of view, one needs to understand these four typologies which are widely being used in e-commerce. So typologies means the categories. Now what is B2B? B2B, business to business, that is what are the commercial activities which happens electronically from one business to another business. So here when we talk about in hospitality industry, there are various systems which helps the tourism and hospitality industry to share their data, to know about what is happening in their businesses through their portals. Like, just to give an example, one portal is hotelinteractive.com. This is an online resource which provides all information to the hoteliers about the various exhibitions coming up, and like what are the other hotels who have procured any businesses. So it's an interactive portal which provides the company's information to another companies. So this is what it is saying. B2B can be open to all interested parties or limited to specific pre-qualified participants. So either it can be in private mode or it can be a open portal, open source mode. The best example to be quoted here is a tour operator can purchase a block of room from hotel. So like through various GDS systems, or if the hotel has given access to the tour operators to use their website and block bulk number of rooms on a particular day, this type of commerce is categorized as B2B, business to business. So this is what it is saying. It helps the business to operate the transaction efficiently, making the buying and selling business between two businesses in an efficient format, in an easy way. So I will let you know how this this is what this website looks like. It has all the daily news. It talks about the various buyer interactive trade alliance and conferences. It helps the hotel community forum to know about each other. It is a buyer interactive platform, gives the various information. Now, as we know that this year 2021 and the previous year 2020, the whole world is suffering from COVID-19 pandemic. So they are talking about how they can source out for personal protection equipment, that is PPE, for their business functionings, and many more. Even they provide information about lodging industry elite, where it talks about the various executives representing the other brands. So this is an interactive forum for business to business provision of information. The next we will be discussing here is business to consumer. Now, in this particular format, the transaction of delivering goods or services to consumer is through this e-commerce portal, where the consumer can look in for information and buy the product based on their needs, demands, and their satisfaction level for that particular product. So it is like selling to the general public, typically through their catalogs, and providing them the various softwares, e-cart, as well as the EFT facility, so that they can buy the product there on that software or on that website directly. Now B2C is the indirect trade between company and consumer. So why it is saying indirect trade, that is there would be some media people involved, there would be some software agencies involved who will help in the facilitation of the transactions. So as I said, the EFT system will help in the facilitation. In fact, it provides direct selling also through the online medium. यहाँ गलत हो गया,
हमने खुद बोले, हम मुझे बोलते
वो तेरा वो वाला भी डिलीट करना है, ये भी डिलीट करना है।
ठीक है, कर दूंगा। और उधर से आवाज आ रही थी पुस 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 पुस।
हाँ वो ठीक है, तो अपने को ये यहाँ तक, यहाँ सॉफ्टवेयर के बाद ये मुझे 2 लाइन डिलीट करनी है।
बीच में बोल दिए, अभी तो उसको कट।
ठीक है, चल कट करेंगे,
मुमकिन है,
कर सकते।
क्या बोलना है?
So in this B2C, it is the selling of goods and services happens to the customer either through direct medium or through indirect medium based on the supplier's website facility. There are a few good examples which can be mentioned here is of Amazon.com, where the retailing of daily needs and all kinds of products which a customer requires are available. Expedia.com for travel and tourism. I will quickly show how Expedia.com looks like. This is Expedia.com, where the customer can either sign in and buy the products, or directly without signing up they can look in for information, check for prices of accommodation, flights, cars, packages, in fact things to do also at the place, destination, and whatever kind of support they look in for, they can get everything in just one click. And even Expedia has their own app which helps them to get all the real-time notifications and information flow in just one click. The next thing we will discuss is about consumer to business. This means how the consumer is being empowered around the world to provide their information, to get information from the company, or to look in for any kind of transactions. So in this, when we talk about the customer is giving reviews to the company, gives the company the rights to show their reviews, participates in various bids. Like there are many companies who have started with $1 services, or uh, ask for a travel itinerary in 100 rupees or whatever, and then the customer participate and be a part of the project, provides their reviews. And even as it is said, the tourist offers his services as an attorney, so they provide all the rights to the hotel to mention their stories. Now everyone talks about storytelling, so the customer acts as a ambassador for that particular product and tells the story on the website of the hotel or the tourism portal or the attraction websites. I will show you how this priceline.com looks like for your knowledge. So this is what priceline.com look like, where one can check in for prices and even provide their reviews through their trip, whatever they have added. And in fact they can get help or provide help to the suppliers. So this is what about priceline.com. Next is C2C, which is a different format of transactions happening between two consumers, like the consumer sharing their views, sharing their feedback, suggestions. In fact, where the customer himself become a supplier of one product and sell it to other customer on a lower price. Like the good website to talk about is eBay. In eBay, the customer can put his used product on sale, and then the other customer, based on the review, based on the description, can buy the product instantly. Even the tourist souvenirs are being sold through eBay. And there is one site called as travelerspoint.com, where customers interact, the tourist interacts and try to get the word of mouth and the reliability about the services of a particular product through the others travelers mouth. So I will quickly try to show the website to you. This is how eBay looks like, where you can put your product on sale and it will be showcased to other consumers who are looking for the same kind of product to buy. So this is customer to customer selling portal. And the other one, which where I've said, where the travelers can talk, put their own blog, create their own blog, show their travel plan, looking for guides, looking for even discuss plans in the forum. So where customers have their own voice. And this is a really good website where you can get the genuine feedback, reviews. As I said, the another categories of e-commerce is with the government. So the earlier four categories which we have discussed is through the customer and buyer point of view, business point of view. Now this is from the government point of view. So the other typologies in e-commerce is government to government, where two government portals or two government bodies can interact, can facilitate their services to each other. Like when we talk about visa services from one country to another, consulate services, passport services. And then there are many things like applying for educational activity, scholarship activity. The next is government to employee. So government have their own portals where employee can log in and get all their benefits, schemes available. The same way, business to employees portals are also there. Business to government portals are there, where business can look in for tenders, apply for tenders, Government to businesses are there, where government can ask to business for to apply for tenders, provide some services. Government to citizens, so all passport kind of websites, advisory websites, travel advisory website, tourism information website is government to citizen. Then citizen to governments are also there are website in the government to citizen itself, where the citizen can ask questions to the government and interact with the government officials. Uh, the government has now come up with their own WhatsApp page now when we talk about mobile based activities. Then Twitter pages where they can post their messages directly to the government representatives. So, here when I say government to consumers, or that is government to consumers, is giving the advisories, and C2G, that is consumers to government, is where the tourists apply for passport, visa, insurance, and looking for their details, scholarship details. So these are some quick example. I have already shown a few websites in my earlier session about how to apply for passport through passport.gov.in and visa facilities for various consulates. Business to employee is again an e-commerce and ICT based application where the companies make it easy for their employees to communicate with them, know about their leave processes, where the employees can know how their salaries are being sanctioned, what are the various policies in the company, how they can apply for promotion, or how they can look in for their grievances, what are the various rules which are applied in the business. So the majorly used softwares for business to employees, a web based application, is SAP and ERP. These are majorly being used by most of the business enterprises. And in this kind of business to employee, even employee to employee engagement is possible, where employee can easily communicate to their peers through the features which are available in this web based application. Now the next part we will be discussing here is e-distribution, electronic distribution. E-commerce is where the selling and buying happens, but apart from that activity we need facilities to distribute the product, how the product will be made available to the end user. So it is requires an integral system of information provision, and then the distribution provision through the various distributors. Like, just to talk about eBay, where consumer to consumer can discuss, but then that portal requires one facility, one services. Say for example, if I am selling a souvenir which I bought from Rajasthan, a very antique thing, and I don't want it now. Maybe it could be a piece of wall hanging which is very expensive, I bought from Rajasthan, and now I want to sell it in eBay. And the buyer could be placed in an international place, maybe in Melbourne, looking for the same kind of piece of wall hanging, and he wants to buy it. So now here comes the facilitation of which is being provided by eBay to distribute, get it provided to the buyer who is looking for that painting in Melbourne. So they will have their various distribution channels, where in the system those delivery based companies will get the wall hanging from me in India, and then they will route it to the buyer who is sitting in Melbourne and looking for that wall hanging. And in between all this process, the transactional charges, the delivery charges are all being taken care by eBay. This is just to give an example how things happens through the e-commerce activity and the electronic distribution. So that's what I'm saying. When any electronic distribution happens, the rate parity is very important. You need to integrate all your extra facilities which you are providing through electronic media, where the consumer should not feel that they were ditched or they were being cheated by wrong quotation of rates. If the human resources involved in e-distribution are not being trained, it becomes very difficult. So a person who is good at technology, who knows how to handle various web-based applications, should be employed to handle the e-commerce activity. Now, as it has been mentioned here, that the various challenges which are being faced because of electronic distribution is the company needs to channel their various networking system properly, because any person sitting at one end, just now I gave example of a person sitting at Melbourne looking for a product available in India, or vice versa. So they need to have that kind of networking system in their operations. The electronic distribution system has become so complex with vast available of resources on one plate. So you need to know who is the right service provider and whose service has to be selected. Then it has the person, the company who are dealing with e-commerce and e-distribution should be responsive to the market. The kind of response, the kind of responsibility you take in the market should be taken care of. There is an increase of exponential comments on hotels over internet. So that's what it's like. Customers are commenting all the time. So their reviews through blogs has to be taken care of, which is a big challenge in the e-commerce and distribution activities. And just now I've spoken about this rate parity. So as things are available on one click and the customers are very well aware, so the rate parity has to be maintained in e-distribution. And the turnover, either through the customer point of view or through human resources point of view, should be taken care of by proper training, by proper hiring activities. Because of this VUCA world, VUCA, as you already know, that VUCA is volatile, uncertainty, complex and ambiguity world. There is a requirement of stability, and one has to keep on training themselves on, I should say, on daily basis. So this is one of the challenge. So the visionary, the planner should take care of all these activities, the instability and uncertainty, or the crisis which happens either through economy or through any pandemic or lack of resources, lack of training. It's mentioned here, the electronic distribution requires a dual effort to manage the distribution of bookings and consistent messages and pictures. So this is what doing the work, that is booking, reservation, and provision of messages. So they need to do multiple things at one point of time together. So this is one big challenge of e-distribution system. And then adapting to a global changing environment where customers, players, actors, producers need to find new working places and new ways to work together. So the demand keeps changing, the kind of facilities or the resources are constantly keep changing. As we have already discussed in the earlier session, that the major GDS system, that is Sabre, and Galileo rapidly changed because of the online market demand, and they had interfaced their system to the end consumers by their websites, that is Travelocity and trip.com, which is very dynamic kind of website providing all information to the customers. So the information search, ticket booking has become very faster because of all these provisions. Even the kind of internet distribution systems which we are getting, that is the OTAs, online travel agencies, which are selling small parts of tourism product to different kinds of customers based on their customized requirement, is another form of distribution system in tourism industry. So here we have spoken about Make My Trip, Yatra.com, and this online travel agencies provide wide range of services based on the different kinds of demand a customer, a traveler has. Before I start with destination management system, I would like to highlight here that the earlier form of GDS system was Sabre, Amadeus, Galileo, WorldSpan, View Data was also used as a form of e-intermediaries. Teletext was also used earlier. And the new form of e-tourism, e-intermediaries is that all these GDS system has come up with their customer base interface system of trip.com. They have come up with their own airfrance.com, that is the airlines has providing their own websites. Orbitz.com. Hotels have their own websites. The various destinations has their own websites. Then as the travel agencies, that is online travel agencies, Expedia.com, Travelocity.com. In fact, you get portals like lastminute.com where you can do last minute booking based on the availability, and they try to give you all the services. Then there are Vortals. Vortals means where you can get your activities and amenities services booked, that is tennis.com, igolf.com, and many more such kinds of distribution systems are made available to the end user. Talking about this destination management system, as you can see, destination management system is a integrated system where all the stakeholders can be pulled in together to participate in the strategic planning, decision and implementation process. This destination management system provides all kind of additional information to tourists on their local websites and at the attraction. So this is what the destination management system talks about. Majorly there would be a private player who will take care of the destination, but they will integrate their activities with the community, with the mobile kind of interfacing activities. They will provide all kind of statistical data which a traveler or a researcher or another stakeholder requires. They will provide database for the government. They will have their own websites. They will try to create a know-how hub information like chat box for the customers to directly interact with them. Then artificial intelligent assistance based on the specific requirement of different customers, and distribution of data to the other industries, that is NGO or research bodies. So this is what destination management systems looks like, and it has integrated all the communities who are required for the destination to be upgraded, to be maintained properly, and to keep the growth of the destination at a constant space. What is search engine marketing? Now we all of us have heard about search engine optimization. So search engine marketing is in accordance with the same technique, where it is used by brands looking to help customers find their products and services online faster and with less effort. So search engine optimization is the technique which is used by brand so that it helps them in the search engine marketing. That is, the companies pay some amount to the developers and to companies who helps in developing this search engine marketing for that particular company. That is, like for example, if I am looking for, say, destination management companies in Kashmir, so when I just type Kashmir, on the top of the Google search result there would be top 3 companies name. So how this top 3 companies name came is because of the concept called as search engine optimization, which is eventually linking to search engine marketing for that company. So it's mentioned here, the aim is to be top of the list when a user searches. So this is what is the aim from search engine marketing. The companies will pay a premium for the service as it relates to increased sales and the ability to analyze consumer behavior. So they pay to the various database developers and service providers to make their company on top of the search list. The next outcome of this session would be understanding the various forms of web evolution. That is how the internet has evolved. Before I show this various kinds of web evolution, I would like to emphasize that this World Wide Web was initially invented by, I hope you would be knowing about this person, Tim Berners-Lee. Tim Berners-Lee in 1989, he started with World Wide Web when he was working with a company with lots of data. So he felt the need of integrating the whole data and putting it at one place. And then in gradual years, this particular video is of the year 2014, where World Wide Web has completed 25 years of their journey, of its journey, and he has spoken how the journey has been, how it has evolved since from 1989 to 2014. So I will quickly play some important parts from this TED Talk of Mr. Tim Berners-Lee.
A few years later, in 2000, 5% of the world population were using the World Wide Web. 2007, 7 years later, 17%. But 2008, we formed the World Wide Web Foundation, partly to look at that and worry about that figure. And now here we are, 2014, and 40% of the world are using the World Wide Web. Obviously, it's and counting. Obviously, it's increasing. I want you to think about both sides.
And now I can say that it's
okay,
almost
obviously, to anybody here at TED, the first question you ask is, what can we do to get the other 60% on board as quickly as possible? Lots of important things. Obviously, it's going to be around mobile,
that
but
is
also
urban population, which I'm talking about.
Because if you're sitting there yourself, sort of with a web enabled life, you don't remember things anymore. You just look them up. Then you may feel that it's been a success, and we can all sit back. But in fact, yeah, it's been a success. There's lots of things. There's Khan Academy, for crying out loud. There's Wikipedia. There's a huge number of free ebooks that you can read online. lots of wonderful things for education. Things in many areas. Online commerce has, in some cases, completely turned upside down the way commerce works altogether, made types of commerce available which weren't available at all before. Commerce has been sort of almost universally affected. Government, not universally affected, but very affected, and in a good day, lots of open data, lots of e-government. So lots of things which are visible happening on the web. Also lots of things which are less visible. The healthcare, late at night when they're worried about what sort of cancer somebody they care about might have. When they just talk across the internet to somebody who they care about very much in another country, those sorts of things are not out there, and in fact they require a certain amount of privacy. So we kind of assume that part of the web, part of the deal with the web, is when I use the web, it's just a transparent, neutral medium. I can talk to you over it without worrying about what we in fact now know is happening. Without worrying about the fact that not only will surveillance be happening, but it'll be done by people who may abuse the data. So in fact, suddenly we realize we can't just use the web, we have to worry about the underlying infrastructure of the whole thing. Is it, in fact, of a quality that we need? We revel in the fact that it's got a wonderful, we have this wonderful free speech. We can talk to we can tweet, and lots and lots of people can see our tweets, except when they can't. Except when actually...
So this is, I wanted to let you know that who invented the web, and he himself had witnessed lots of development, changes, advancement, since from 1989 till 2014 what he had discussed, but by 2021 we have seen that there's the way World Wide Web is happening has changed a lot. Now we are using mobile based web interfaces wherein the screen has become small in size but very interactive. So I will quickly show one video how this Web 1.0, Web 2.0 and Web 3.0 has emerged, and what are the basic differentiation of these kinds of webs which were made available to us.
The internet is very much alive and kicking. The first generation of internet sites primarily gave information. But with the rise of sites like Facebook and Amazon, the web has become increasingly interactive. On this Web 2.0, it's mostly the user who produces the content. Without contributors, there would be no Facebook, and without people who post information on Wikipedia and their clips on YouTube, there would be no interaction on these sites. Meanwhile, most people have become familiar with Web 2.0. Blogging, tagging, social networking and social bookmarking have paved the way to a next step in the development of the web. The step to the intelligent and omnipresent Web 3.0. Web 3.0 is not totally different from the web we know now. It is in many respects a continuation of existing techniques. Think of the so-called recommender systems that make a personal approach by a website possible. Amazon has cleverly used this system for a long time now, by offering their clients products that other people with the same interest bought before them. And on Last.fm, you can listen online to music that caters to your personal wishes. By using smart systems, these sites are in a continuous learning process, and they anticipate what their users like or dislike. Important for sites like Last.fm or Amazon is that a song or a book gets extra information added by the user. No sudden change of the internet, it changes gradually. What does change quickly is the look and feel of the web. Simply speaking, the internet is a web full of appliances that communicate with each other by exchanging information. As more and more everyday appliances are connected to the internet, think of telephones, washing machines and cars, the web is more present, but it will become less and less visible. No big separate computer, but invisibly present in everyday appliances. When, moreover, all these appliances start communicating with each other through the internet, This may lead to useful additional services measured to meet our individual needs. For the time being, we are not yet dealing with an all-knowing, omniscient computer which comes close to or even surpasses human intelligence. Writing computer programs which, in a human manner, convert data into useful information, also known as the semantic web, appears quite difficult. But the web undoubtedly evolves into an environment which is intelligent and which will meet our wishes more often, more easily, and automatically. New services develop because data from various sources can be linked more easily. Moreover, with the good and often wireless infrastructure, these new internet services are always and everywhere available. Your online agenda becomes a personal assistant which, all by itself, for instance on the basis of your profile on LinkedIn, Facebook or other information, will check your possibilities for new appointments and even take traveling times into account. Your destination and itinerary too will have been sorted out by links between restaurant sites, GPS information and local weather services. EPN, the Dutch think tank on the impact of information technology, approaches Web 3.0 from various points of view and draws attention to its implications for society.
So the credit to this video goes to EPN. Now, I hope through this visual effect you would have understood the kind of evolution which has happened since the web was introduced in 1989 till date. So we have seen that earlier the web was just in developing phase and it was a very static type of content. In Web 1.0 we saw the emergence of e-commerce activity, but still it was static where the user cannot provide their content or interact with the companies. In Web 2.0 we saw that it was user generated content where the user themselves can write reviews, interact and put their stories, blogging and various YouTube videos have become so easy, made so easy for anyone to do it. And what in this video is shown is about Web 3.0. How it will work. It will work through the IoT medium, that is Internet of Things. All our appliances, devices would be linked to web, and based on our preferences, based on our day-to-day activities which we are doing utilizing the web would create a data for individual customers and would generate our requirement accordingly. Like for example, IoT based refrigerator can place your grocery items based on your previous history, how you used to buy products and how you are consuming based on your consumption. So the data will be analyzed by refrigerators IoT medium, and it will place order to the grocery suppliers. So this is how IoT will works, and that's what in this EPN video made by EPN, it has been showed that based on your movement to a place and type of order you place in a restaurant, your itineraries would be created by the web itself. So this is how things will be stimulated, things would be changed, and we will get everything made available on our plate. So I've already spoken about Web 1.0, Web 2.0. So here in simple words we will try to understand. Web 1.0 was only read-only web. It was like a static kind of web. Please excuse me for the kind of my doodling activity here. So this was a static web. Then the other thing was in Web 2.0, you can see that it was read, write, publish. So the user generated content started emerging. And Web 3.0 is where it is read. The user can write also, and it will execute based on your personalized data, whatever personalized search you have, based on your tailor-made activities, which the web itself will do it. Now, the next upcoming webs which we'll see soon is the mobile based web, where things will happen mostly by mobile. So mobile will be helping us to connect with all devices in the real time processes, and anything which is required would be made available there in our mobile. And Web 5.0 would be more of emotional web. So based on the emotional usage and emotional need of the user, the content will be made available to the user, that is called as emotional intelligent web, which would be the next web, and we will soon see it in another 5 years of time. So this is the differentiation of Web 1.0, Web 2.0 and Web 3.0. I have already explained the first element, that is Web 1.0 is mostly read only. Web 2.0 is read, write content, and Web 3.0 is portable and personal through the mobile based, that is Internet of Things, which we are hearing. Web 1.0 was company focus, whereas Web 2.0 is community focus, that is the user oriented, and Web 3.0 is individually focused. So this is another difference which we need to understand. Web 1.0 was mostly from the company's home pages, their website. Web 2.0 is user generated, the blog, the Wikipedia, Wikicommons content. Whereas Web 3.0 would be like from mobile live streamings, the Waves apps which are made available. So this is what we can see here. Now, Web 1.0, it was mostly the content was owned by the company. Whereas Web 2.0, it's a sharing content by the users and the company. Whereas Web 3.0 is consolidating content based on the end user. Web 1.0 was in the form of the web forms, and that is static forms. Web applications are used in Web 2.0, which is like through these system RSS, that is rich site summary, and it is like instantly the information is being displayed at the other person's, the other service provider. So XML is called as extensible markup language, which is being used in Web 2.0. Whereas in Web 3.0, it is the smart application. So this smart application is through the format which is called as resource description framework, where the things would be made available based on the end user's requirement. As well as the other format is web ontology language, where based on the kind of search emotions which are being used by the end user, things are made available. Here in Web 1.0, it was just a directory format in the static way. In Web 2.0, where the user could tag each other, and Web 3.0 is based on user behavior. Now, Web 1.0 is here it is talking about how revenue was generated, so it was based on the page views. Whereas in Web 2.0, it is based on the ads which has been clicked by the users, cost per click, we can talk about here. Whereas user generated, it is the user engagement, how the user is being kept engaged with the kind of their behavior. The ads would be displayed and their click will be giving the revenue. Here the marketing was through banner advertising, whereas in Web 2.0 it is interactive, and in Web 3.0 it is behavioral, based on the emotions and the requirement of the end user. The examples of the webs is, earlier we could find Britannica Online, where it was static with one information, Wikipedia, where the user can edit the content, and Web 3.0, which we'll soon see, it's based on the semantic, the IoT kind of content which we get. So this is the differentiation of various webs. I hope it would be little useful for you all to understand, because based on evolution we can figure out what would be the future. Now we will discuss about how Web 2.0 has helped a lot in tourism industry, especially the kind of viral marketing we are getting through Web 2.0. So being a user generated kind of technology, here it is person to person communication has become very easy through Web 2.0. So there's word of mouth marketing is become very easy, and it has become more viral because the user himself can make his vlog and put it there in the social media. So the same thing, it is mostly through the user generated content, that is UGC, where the consumer himself is the main contributor, main content creator, and they try to engage the other communities, the other users through their blogs, social networks, various groups, forums, and the content aggregators. So as we have already learned, Web 2.0 has played a very vital role in the kind of new digital culture which is created online, where in YouTube we could see lots of vloggers coming up, putting up their videos about a place, trying to influence other people to go and visit the place. So the promotion of places has become very easy. Even there are bloggers who talk about the pros, cons of visiting a place, how to visit a place, which are the various services which should be utilized. And in blog category also, there are kind of influencers who influences the masses to buy particular products. So in the last decade it has been seen that the kind of Web 2.0 influences in the market is very, very strong in India. So I've already spoken about the impact of blogger, how they are able to write their own personal opinions and make people understand. In fact, they are able to educate people as well. Then there are various technologies which has helped a lot for the end customers to understand about the product and experience it before visiting a place. Specifically about the VR technology, that is virtual reality technology, and we should definitely talk about Marriott Starwood's Aloft, where this virtual technology is being provided to experience the room before visiting the place. And even Thomas Cook, SOTCs are utilizing VR technology for major destinations, big destinations, to influence buyers to buy their product. Even cruise liners like Royal Caribbean are offering VR tours for their Tirun cruise liner, which is one of a big form of cruise liner. And we need to definitely talk about this post COVID-19 impact, because now this meeting, incentive, conference, exhibition has turned to virtual conferences. And in this move, Web 2.0 has played a very vital role in providing that kind of interface, medium, or a platform to convert this industry into hybrid format or digital format. This Facebook's Oculus Rift and the 360-degree interactive technology of ICT VR devices has helped a lot for the customers to understand about the place, feel the place, and then visit the place. We will quickly go through what are the e-tourism activities. We have spoken about the kind of web services which has been evolved and contributed in this tourism activities. So it is various kinds of web services which are made available. Then there are softwares which are being useful to the travel planners as well as tour operators, travel agencies, to come up with the kind of packages what a customer is looking for. So this is our intelligent software agents which assist in provision of tourism products and services. Then this electronic format of dynamic packaging system, like based on customers' requirement, the packaging of the flight tickets, accommodations, and travel packages can be predefined by the companies for the users. Based on users' location, time, profile, identity, the information of user has become very easily available to the service provider. Then there are various electronic tour guide services which are made available in places like the audio guidebook, audio recording book, the audio kit in museums, which is a kind of good activities which makes a traveler get deeply involved into tourism activities. Then mobile tour guides are also available. Many companies have come up with their own apps and they have integrated the tour guides in the app, or the map services which are made available by search engines. Then I have already spoken about virtual tourism, how VR is enabling the customers as well as the service providers. Thomas Cook and cruise liners started using VR technology. Hotel like Marriott started using. So it is giving that pre-experience, immersed experience to the guest before they visit a place in the hotel, and to the travelers before they visit a place. So this was all about the evolution of web services, how e-tourism activities are contributing towards catering to the needs of tourists. We have discussed about the tourism marketing through Web 2.0, like what is the impact of travel bloggers, vloggers, and various user generated content. So in this session, we have discussed about the next phase of e-tourism, that is the various web evolutions and the e-tourism activities. Hope you would have liked the session. Thank you. These are some of the references which are utilized for this session. Thank you.